It was a dark and stormy night. We were so close to death. Were you though? Or was it really that dramatic? Hey fam, my name is also Fam and my channel is about all things PA. If you're interested in this career field, please consider subscribing because I will be making videos every single week. Do you need help with your personal statement for PA school? Well, I got you. Let's get straight into it, shall we? Number 1, start writing down your experiences as you go through them. You can write it down on your notes app, in your journal. That way you already have it all written down instead of trying to remember what happened 4 years ago. Especially if you have a few years before you're planning to apply to PA school, you should definitely start documenting your experiences. Number 2, you should start working on your personal statement at least about 6 months before you plan on applying to PA school. So 6 months before you even open your CASPA application, get started. You only have 5,000 characters, including spaces, to explain to PA schools why you are the perfect candidate for them and why you deserve a spot in their program. So that is a lot of pressure and it can be intimidating. If you already start out with giving yourself so many months to write, you can procrastinate all you want. Take breaks. If you want to forget about your personal statement for 1 whole month, you can do that. So if you want, write your intro 1 week and then come back 2 weeks later and finish 1 body paragraph, and then 3 weeks later write another. You don't have pressure to complete the whole thing in one setting. You can procrastinate all you want, get through those writer's block, and then write the best version of your personal statement that you can. Number 3, as I mentioned, if you do happen to get writer's block or you just don't know how to start, an amazing way to help you get started is by Googling it. I personally had a lot of my inspiration come from Google when I was reading all the hundreds of personal statements that are available out there. Read as many as you need to get a feel of what you're supposed to do, and read both good and bad versions of a personal statement. That way you learn what to do and also what not to do. It's better to learn from other people's mistakes than to make those mistakes on your own, especially when it comes to applying to PA school. Number 4, get to know your program. If you have specific programs in mind, go to their website, read their vision and mission statements, and see if your priorities align with theirs. If you're somebody interested in working with the underprivileged, make sure that the school has some sort of program or a volunteering opportunity that will allow you to do that. If you're interested in working with women and children, check if your school has a program to allow you to do that instead. Overall, make sure that your priorities align with the school's and then mention that on your personal statement to show the school that you are the perfect candidate. Number 5, try not to be too dramatic. It was a dark and stormy night. We were so close to death. Were you though? Or was it really that dramatic? Don't write your personal statement like that. Unless you really were in a situation like that, then definitely write that. But otherwise, keep in mind that you are writing your personal statement, not a suspense novel. You want to create a hook to get the reader involved, but at the same time you also want to keep your individuality and tell them your personal story and why you want to be a PA. People from these PA schools are reading hundreds of essays, so make yours unique and tell them why you belong in this profession. You can begin with a song or poetry or even a quote that you love, or you can tell a story maybe. I wrote about an experience I had and how that made me become more serious about my studies. Number 6, it is a good idea to mention positive things in your personal statement, but it is also okay to mention negatives. However, only mention those negative things if it makes you look good. For example, in my essay, I did mention that yes, I messed up that one time in college. However, in the following semesters, I did achieve Dean's List. So even though I addressed something negative in my essay, I showed how I personally grew from that and how I got better, which ultimately made me look good. Number 7, people get so carried away writing a really good hook for their personal statement that they forget the main purpose sometimes. The whole reason why you're writing this essay is to show PA schools why you chose to become a PA. That should always be your main focus. You should be explaining how and why you got to this decision of pursuing this specific career. Don't say something vague like, I want to help people. Even though that's amazing that you do want to help people, any career can help people. Doctors, nurses, PTs, OTs. It's not really specific to PA. So figure out your why and talk about that. Also, it is very important for you to be respectful of any and all other careers as well. PAs are not better than other careers. We're all equally amazing. So make sure not to look down upon anybody. Also, definitely do not say that you want to be a PA because you think PA school is going to be easier than med school. Newsflash, It's not. First of all, it's just not true. PA schools are just as hard to get into as med school. They are very, very competitive. Second of all, yes, PA schools are a lot shorter than med school. However, that does not mean they're not challenging. It is a very, very challenging program. And number 3, if you say something like PA school is easier than med school, you're just not helping yourself. It makes you look like you're not as hardworking and you're okay being lazy just because you assumed PA school will be easier. It is not a good reason. Do not mention it. Don't even hint at this during your personal statement. Just no. Number 8, try to stay away from informal language or using contractions or cliches. Unless you're quoting somebody during an anecdote or during some other exceptions, it is not the best writing strategy. You want to keep this formal and you don't want to use too many contractions. If you don't know what contractions are, by the way, they are when you kind of fuse 2 words together. For example, if the word is would not, you would write it as wouldn't, or could not as couldn't, or it is as it's. So I know you have a 5,000 character limit, but still try to avoid these. Avoid them like the plague. Just kidding, that's a cliche, so don't use that. Also, I'm sure I don't have to tell you, but please spell PA correctly. Physician, assistant, no apostrophe. Number 9, have a theme. Don't make your theme like medicine because that's like the whole gist of the essay. Try to do something different. And you need to have a solid conclusion that ties it all back together. So for example, I talked about an experience I had in my first paragraph. But in my last paragraph, I mentioned the experience again, but a little differently. And then I tied it all together to the beginning. So that was my strategy, to connect every single paragraph to each other and to have the whole essay have a flow. And lastly, number 10. After you have written your personal statement, or even in middle of writing that statement, go ahead and start asking people to proofread. You want maybe 2 or 3 people to proofread your essay for you, but do take their criticism with a grain of salt. Don't implement every single suggestion somebody makes. You still want to be you. You want your own writing style to show through your essay. So sometimes that gets really complicated when you have too many people proofreading your essay and too many people have different opinions, and then you don't know which way to go, and then you end up having an essay that's not your writing style at all. So you want to avoid that. When people do give you criticism and they do tell you to change things, acknowledge that you appreciate their criticism. However, you are not obligated to change anything. So personally, I had a doctor proofread my essay and he didn't like the way I did my introduction. He thought my introduction was too dramatic and I should start off with more of a, hi, my name is this and I'm applying to PE school and this is how I got to it. So he had a good approach, however, I found that to be a little boring and it wasn't me. So even though his suggestions weren't bad, they were good suggestions, I chose to ignore them and still go with what I truly felt was appropriate for my essay. So yes, the person reading your personal statement could be the smartest person you know on this planet, but their writing style could be so much different than yours that their critique isn't really applicable because it's just not relevant to what you're trying to say. Alright fam, those were my 10 advice that I had for you. I definitely used most of these tips to write my personal statement and I really hope that some of these tips also will apply to you and you will benefit from my advice. Again, my name is Fam and my channel is about all things PA. If you have any additional questions, please comment them below. I will get back to you as soon as I can. And as always,